The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. When John the Baptist heard in prison of the works of the Christ, he sent his disciples to Jesus with this question: "Are you the one who is to come, or should we look for another?" Jesus said to them in reply, "Go and tell John what you hear and see. The blind regain their sight, the lame walk, lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, and the poor have the good news proclaimed to them. And blessed is the one who takes no offense at me." As they were going off, Jesus began to speak to the crowds about John. "What did you go out into the desert to see? A reed swayed by the wind? Then what did you go out to see? Someone dressed in fine clothing? Those who wear fine clothing are in royal palaces. Then why did you go out? To see a prophet? Yes, I tell you, and more than a prophet. This is the one about whom it is written, 'Behold, I am sending my messenger ahead of you. He will prepare your way before you.' Amen, I say to you, among those born of women, there has been none greater than John the Baptist. Yet the least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he." The Gospel of the Lord.
In his quest to create a battery that would efficiently store electricity, Thomas Edison tried thousands upon thousands of combinations of different materials before he was ever successful. Partway through that endeavor, one of his friends asked him, "Thomas, isn't it a shame that with the tremendous amount of work you have done in this project, you haven't been able to get any results?" Edison famously turned slyly and replied, "Results? Why, man, I have gotten lots of results. I now know several thousand things that won't work." I often wonder what kept Edison going through all those seeming failures, through all those tries that didn't work. How easy it would have been to stop trying. How easy it would have been to say it's never going to happen. How easy it would have been to simply say it's impossible and to give up. Edison had a certain confidence that the right answer, that the right combination was out there somewhere, just waiting to be found. I actually think about that confidence a lot because ours is a world that seemingly lacks that sort of confidence at times. We don't do particularly well waiting. We don't do particularly well being patient. We like immediate results. We want concrete and measurable signs of growth, and we want them now. in the here and now. For us, a week is too long to wait for a package. We want it in 2 days. In fact, 2 days is too long. Sometimes we want it overnight. In fact, overnight is sometimes too long. We want it in 6 hours, delivered by a drone. We just don't like waiting. We're not particularly good at being patient. And look, I get it. I grew up in New York. I understand. It took me 15 years to learn that the more you lean over the edge of the subway platform and tap your foot, it doesn't actually make the train come any faster. We're just not very good at taking the long-term view. For us, there's a certain insecurity that if we don't get what we want right now, we fear that it may never come, that it may never happen. And yet, friends, today St. James speaks to us so eloquently of the virtue of patience. He tells us not to complain, not to be anxious, not to worry, but to simply wait. To wait in the complete trust and confidence of the Lord's coming. That the vision of the Lord that's presented to us by the prophet Isaiah this morning for us is not some far-off possibility. It is most assuredly a certainty. That God's vindication and divine recompense has come already once with his incarnation, and friends, we are assured that it will most certainly come again at the end of all things. You see, the message of the Baptist then to the people of Judea is really the same message for us now, here, today. That our Christ is coming. That it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Our wait, our patience isn't tested by anxiety or consumed by fear because we're not sure of the end. We know the end. Our patience is actually for us a model of joy and hope. That patience, that trust in the Lord's coming, that trust that God will fulfill his promise, that, my friends, is what lives at the core of our Advent journey. These 4 weeks of preparation, waiting for and leading up to the feast of Christmas, is an important reminder to each and every one of us that through our entire life's waiting for the coming of the Lord once again, that the Lord will indeed come. That joy and peace and love do exist at the end of our journey. The patience we exhibit these 4 weeks for the feast of Christmas is the patience we're called to model our entire life. It's the patience we're called to practice our entire life as we wait in joyful hope for the Lord's coming again. Our patience is rooted in trust. Trust that God never forgets his promise, that he will always, always be there for us. That trust, friends, let me suggest, is what makes this most sacred season really a season of hope. Because it means that even when our life does not seem particularly joyful, that even when our life doesn't seem to go well, and there's certainly moments in our life when things don't go well, that when we look out at the world around us and see violence and hatred and iniquity, that those things are indeed temporary, that they will come to pass, that there is a world of perfect justice, perfect love, perfect peace, true and lasting peace that awaits us at the end of all things. Our trust in the perfection of that world is what allows and sustains us to live in the imperfectness of this world. So it gives us hope. Hope that even when things are not particularly good, something greater is still out there. That there's still something more. That hope, friends, is what eventually leads us to today. That hope instills in each and every one of us a sense of joy. Joy isn't for us some sort of fleeting happiness. It's not that kind of bubbly cotton candy feeling you get when things go well. That's not joy. Joy is far more profound. Joy doesn't mean we have to be constantly cheery and bubbly. Joy means that deep down inside, no matter what goes on in our life, we know that God's there. That our disposition is always reflective of our trust in His divine coming, of our trust in His divine love. My friends, the hope that we profess this Advent season does give us cause each and every year to proclaim Gaudete, to rejoice in the Lord, for He is indeed near. May our prayer at this Eucharist simply be that we let that joy infuse our hearts and transform us to our very core, so that the joy present in us might be infectious and might spread to every corner of the world.